broken. It's all we have. I'm curious, I'm vengeful, I'm dying, and she reminds me of a time when I wasn't.
I got him out of a Nazi prison. I built for him the best museum in the world, but I would love to know what more you think he deserves from me. Why aren't you painting?
Because I have integrity.
Oh, really?
In refusing to sell the spirit in bulk. In refusing to let greed be taught.
And we can't hover in the past, and we can't let him die thinking he's a shadow.
When you take freedom from an artist, he does not just quit, he vanishes. Of the spirit.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the San Francisco Playhouse, the Empathy Gym, and to the second in our series of Fireside Chats with Playwrights. I'm Bill English, Artistic Director, and as you can probably tell from the trailer, it was just so amazing to see that trailer again after these years have gone by, and the beautiful art and the beautiful music and the beautiful script, and of course by Lauren Gunderson, who is our guest tonight on the Fireside Chats with Playwrights. Lauren, good to see you.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Hello, hello.
Yeah, it's wonderful in our separate abodes.
Indeed, indeed. Oh, it was so nice to see the trailer again. Oh my gosh, that play was so magical. You did such a beautiful job directing, and those actors were just luminous.
Yeah, we did okay, huh?
We did a great job. That's a good one.
Really special show, you know. I think it was a little underappreciated by the critics.
What are you gonna do?
Well, you know, it's funny because we did it twice. We did it in San Francisco for, I think, 60 or performances or something. And then we did about the same number at 59 East 59 in New York, like a year later, nearly a year later. And I believe we had a standing ovation at every performance.
Yeah, I recall that too.
It's
a powerful play. I mean, I remember when when I brought in the pages for what became the ending, the final ending, which it was a hard one to, this is a play for those of you who don't know it, haven't seen it or read it. It's a play called Bower, about a true story of a real artist who really redefined a kind of art mid-century. And the ending was kind of tricky. It was like, is it a big monologue? Is it a big fight? Is it a big kiss? Is it what's the thing? And I remember having this kind of moment right before rehearsal started and writing down a version of the ending where what he does is he takes this paint. It's all about an artist who refuses to paint. He can't make any art anymore. And there's a lot of reasons why. And we go into all of the reasons and all the relationships. But at the end, he just takes this, his friend who's there to help him takes the paint and just smears it on him. And this like bright blue squish goes across him. And it was just so like, it was pure theater. And that's the beginning of making that ending. I remember that the day that we kind of discovered that. So.
And I remember that the stage direction said something like, he paints the entire room, smearing paint on every wall. And I'm going, Lauren, what have you done to me?
What are you doing? I know.
How are we going to make this theatrical? And then we did it with video, and I think the brush strokes were all Bowers that he put on the wall that we cut out and then threw them up there. Yeah.
From his actual paintings. Yeah. And the ending was, it was magnificent because it was impossible. Reminds me of that Paul Vogel concept of writing something impossible in your play. And it often is the thing that becomes the most memorable, the most moving, the most theatrical, the most extraordinary, are these things that make you go, I don't know if that's possible to do, but some beautiful genius designer will go, I know how to do that.
Yeah, well, that was it. It was an impossible ending, which was the beautiful thing about it. It just to talk a little bit about process. I think when we first talked about doing it, I had just met you, and you gave me 2 plays to read that were both biographies.
Yeah.
One of them became Silent Sky, and the other became Emily.
I think it was Emily, probably.
Yeah, Emily. And I thought, oh, well, this woman likes to write about real people. And at the same time, we had come upon Bauer, and one of our board members had produced a documentary about him. And I thought, who could be a good person? And took it to you, and you liked the idea. And we sort of undertook the commission at that point. Yeah. And then you did describe some of the research that you did.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of research. And I will say one of the things that I've always been very grateful to you about is because you didn't know me that well, but I had moved to San Francisco, and within a year or so, we were in conversation, and it felt incredibly generous and supportive of you to reach out to me and want to involve me. And it's a big deal for a theater commission to commission a new play. You're starting a relationship. It's a risky thing, but it's an exciting thing that theater's built for. We're built for, like, what's next? What can we do that's never been done before? So I really have always thought, this meant so much that you trusted me to tell this very important story. And luckily, like you mentioned, our board member, Roland Weinstein, had a lot of these paintings, a lot of Bauer's actual work in one of his galleries. And so he was a major research source, and he had all the books and all the research already kind of from his documentary. And so diving into that and finding, as with any history play, any true story, kind of what's the story behind the story? What's the untold? What's the secrets? What's the real beating heart of the thing? And boiling it down to the right time in a person's life. There's a lot of plays you can tell depending on what part of your life you're going to tell, what character you're going to put in congregation with their main character. It could be a totally different play depending on who's in it. So finding this story of this true artist, the woman he married, and the woman he kind of always loved but had this very tumultuous up and down relationship with.
It's probably
the reunion of these people was the real story.
Probably a situation which is probably a little bit unlikely to actually have occurred.
Probably, but there is enough window in history. I'm a writer that always looks for, like, could there maybe just go with me? If this lined up with this, then maybe they could have been in the same room. That's enough for me to write a play. As I remember,
we did 4 workshops.
Yeah, a lot.
We did a couple in the gallery with different actors playing Bauer. Jimmy Dean did one, and Robert Parsons did one, and I think I did.
That's right, you did it.
I did Bauer. So we were getting a lot of different perspectives from different actors, and it changed so much. But wasn't that over probably a couple of years, right?
Yeah, it was a couple of years. And it was really trying to find what's the voice of the play, because it's a play about an autistic bunch. It's World War II era Germany, but also kind of mid-century America. And, at first I was experimenting with a sound of the play that might have been a little more heightened, a little more stagey, just trying to play with language in a more active way. And then it kind of settled into, it's really a story about 3 people that are trying to figure each other out, and frankly, trying to say, I love you and I miss you. And that felt like it needed to be more grounded. And it was a great discovery. And it ended up with some of my favorite characters I've written, because they're so full of passion and yet so understandable and so relatable.
The early versions were a little bit more avant-garde.
Yeah, they were wilder and more extreme in terms of their poetry and the structure. And then it kind of settled into, it's a 3-person play. That's, people trying to be honest with each other. And those are my favorite plays anyway. Do
you think it got simpler and simpler as we worked on it? I think it did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it also, I think part of what all those workshops did was expose the real heart of these characters. They're real people. And at a certain point, oftentimes you don't need as much of the showiness that theater can sometimes lean on. If you have a great character who wants something so bad and is trying to fight against being vulnerable and then becomes vulnerable, like that's actually life, and it's dramatic. And the actors that certainly the ones that we came to, gave us so much. It's a hard play to do because there's no break in the middle. You don't leave the stage. Like, everyone is just there the whole time. It's a tough one, but it pays off with kind of a huge emotional dividends by the end.
Pretty naked out there.
It is.
Three of them are all pretty exposed.
Acting is hard.
Yeah, and we have painting and slapping paint on canvas, and
Yes. Oh, yeah.
yeah, I still have this stuff. Oh no, it's gone. Oh, here it is.
Oh, you have the painting. I have mine too.
Yeah, you have one too. Roland gave us all one of these.
Yep.
And folks, this is a drawing that Bauer did when he was in a Gestapo prison, and he was literally drawing and doing art on like a paper towel from a dispenser of some kind. It looks like it could have been like sort of a paper towel that you could wipe your hands with or something. And they found like hundreds of these.
Hundreds. Yeah.
And he did on both sides, because he would just, and he probably would have been executed if they'd caught him painting in this crazy prison. And I look at this.
That's powerful.
Look at this all the time and think, wow, a heroic sort of.
Me too. Yeah.
So you've gone on from Bauer to become the most produced living playwright in America. That includes Mr. Shakespeare, whose birthday is today.
I know. Happy birthday, William.
And yeah, I just read somebody wrote that he died on the same day.
Yeah, we don't know exactly, but
yeah,
it's a good story too.
Sounds like he created that script.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good plot twist.
But so you've gone on to have shows in London, right? And INU has played. How many productions of that play have there been? I don't even know. 30? A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a beautiful production in London a few years ago that they just re-released, and a filmed version for a short time. When all this shelter-in-place stuff happened, which I was really grateful to see it again. It was starring the great young actor Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones. She played the character of Caroline, and it was gorgeous. It was a really amazing process. And I know you adore British theater as much as I do. It's such a thrill to go over there, and such an interesting and beautifully complex and accessible community. It's just a really amazing place to see theater. So I was excited to be part of that for a little while. And then lately you've been working with Audible, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that? That's like a new phase, right? Yeah, it's a really interesting project, and certainly more interesting now that we can't actually go to the normal theater that we're used to going to. So what they did, this was a couple of years ago, they established a commission program to commission batches of 10 playwrights. There's been 3 batches, I think. I was in the first batch, 10 of us to write not short plays, kind of small intimate plays, 1 or 2 person plays that could be both staged, but primarily recorded as an audio play. So it's kind of like a radio play in the British tradition. And it was really fascinating, partly because I realized how much I love the physical in theater. Like we talked about the ending of Bauer and how she just goes and slaps paint on it. We can't really do that in an audio play in the same way. So it really taught me kind of a little bit more about what I do and what my instincts are, but also, of course, as one continues to learn oneself in an art form, you grow. It was really amazing. And so we did it last year off Broadway at Audible's Theater in New York City. And then also they released it on the same day as an audio play. So you could listen to it anywhere in the world. And if you were anywhere in New York, you could come see it. It was starring Kate Mulgrew of Orange is the New Black and Star Trek and all that. And it was amazing. So you can hear that right now. I think it's actually still free to listen to the new plays on Audible. So you can check that out. It's a really extraordinary thing. And it's a really interesting way to experience theater, and one that we'll probably get more and more familiar with as as we figure out this whole situation now where we can't, again, be together in the way we want to be.
Did you learn something from writing a play which was also going to have to be just heard, that you feel like you bring with you to go back to writing plays for the stage?
Yeah. Well, I will say I could certainly write an audio play again, with a little bit more knowledge now, of how to do it. But what was true is there is still stuff that is just purely theatrical in a live performance sense. There is a scene that the listening audience didn't get because it was totally silent, where our main character, the play of mine from Audible is called The Half-Life of Marie Curie, and it is a true story about Marie Curie. And there's a scene where Marie is kind of releasing, it's an emotional silent moment, kind of, that was what we only did on stage. And you obviously can't do an emotionally silent moment in an audio version. So that was a little gift to the live audience. But
you got to put it into words, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the question. Like, do we have someone narrate? Do we have her say what she's thinking? And it all just felt false. And so it was like, you know what? That'll just be something we do on stage, and we'll just, yeah.
We've been trying to figure out a way to create content, for the time that the theater has to be closed, and been suggesting doing some one-act plays that we're going to call Zoomlets, like a half-hour play, and kind of make them director-driven. So the director, either we do it like it's a table read, where the director talks to the actors about how they're going to do it, and then they do it, and they talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, that's great.
At least the director introduces the play and why that director felt like this would be a good play for people to see. And somebody suggests, and so you're really doing a play with people in boxes. So we thought, well, we should probably do no exit.
Yep.
But somebody suggested doing the Zoo Story, which is,
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Play. But then I said, yeah, but how do you do the violence at the end if they're in separate boxes? There's some things from live theater that you stab the side of your. Well, that would be fun. That would be different, but kind of crazy.
I will say one thing.
It'll come down from the top of the box,
Yeah.
How can we manipulate?
We'll figure it out. But what is interesting, I will say I've learned the power of the stage direction. I've always loved a stage direction, and I have a rant about how directors need to make sure to take care of their stage directions and honor them. But it is interesting because sometimes just reading a stage direction is powerful enough to have the audience's brain turn on, and they will paint a picture that is more violent or more powerful than we could put on stage. So sometimes it's just almost as powerful to just go, and he stabs her and she fights and they tussle, then you're like, ah!
I think you're onto something there. So we could have somebody else in a box reading the stage directions.
Yep.
And they would be like the mute in the Fantastics or something. They'd be there to help.
Yeah, because it's same way with kisses. You can be like, oh, they kiss beautifully, and and you're like, I'll take that picture in my own mind. You don't have to show me.
I think that's a great idea.
Stage direction.
It seems like we should write a play. We were talking about this. We were just texting back and forth about what are we going to do now earlier, and think, well, we need to, what would that be that could be written for that medium of the box, people in boxes medium?
I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think I was just having a conversation with a collaborator, because we just kind of started dreaming something up that was based on the personal intimacy that these mediums have, because we are facing out.
Yeah.
You were looking at me, we're all facing this way. It feels like we are being talked to in a very specific and kind of small way. We are in a little box, and what that asks for me, what that poses is a chance to really delve into the personal, and the personal confessional kind of play, I think, is going to work really nicely in this medium, because it does feel like it's one-on-one. And we did I didn't know it was an experiment. We did, right when this first shelter in place happened, a play of mine was going to be a part of a women's theater festival in North Carolina. And they, of course, moved online. And the reading they were going to do was a play of mine. It's one woman play called Natural Shocks, about a woman that's basically trapped in a basement while a tornado is going around her neighborhood, and she's trying to weather the storm. But that actually worked perfectly on a Zoom in a little box because it's a claustrophobic play. She is telling you her whole life story where there is a, trying to stay small and stay protected. And it actually worked in a little box and in a kind of strangely like, oh, should this play only be done on Zoom? This is weird. I didn't know that. So I think there's something about this new form that can be just for this moment in time. And I'm sure we will all learn something and take it back to when we're back in our theaters and we're back holding hands with each other and being like, yay, we're back here. But there's always power in confession, and there's always power in saying, here's who I am, here's what I know to be true, and just stating it.
It's like direct address. It's like talking to the audience, which is what, as old as the Greeks, right?
That's it.
The characters
Somebody saying, I have a story to tell you, and looking you in the eye, and that's
basically we're all monologues. There was very little dialogue in Greek theater. It was mostly all direct address. There was the chorus, the direct address. Then there were the characters would speak. Yeah. And I was just thinking, Cormac McCarthy writes like that. No, who am I thinking of? You wrote the Weir.
Oh yes.
That girl from North Country.
Yep.
Having junior and senior moments.
After 5 p.m. on my end. So
I know there's particularly a group of Irish playwrights that work in direct address.
Yes.
A whole bunch of them. Because
it's a storytelling form, and that certainly the Irish are very well known for being kind of masters of the spun story. And I do think that's what we're being asked of in this medium. And I think there's theater that will fit perfectly for this time and it still have the same tenets of normal theater. Like it can be both a new thing and the old thing. So I'm hopeful for this new.
The principles are the same, right? And if the Greeks did it and the Shakespeareans did it, talked directly to the audience, I think we can probably do it too.
Yeah.
Of course. I thought I would also just spin off into the fact that your husband is a virologist.
Indeed.
And has indeed always been a virologist.
Most of his life, yes.
What's that like? I mean, here you are, the most produced playwright in America, and he just had an article in Time, right, about the current virus challenge, and what is that? And how does that spin you off into, like, is there going to be plays about it, or?
I'm sure there will be. Well, the promise of our relationship began on me writing about him and his work, and I was like, maybe we should get married instead of writing a play about each other.
Well, that's great. Tell us.
Yeah. I mean, he and I met through agents and people who said, well, Lauren, you really like to write about science. Here, I know this really incredible scientist. I don't know, you might be interested in talking with him and And we were living in different cities at the time, and then happenstance brought us into the same city, which was this one, San Francisco. And we met, and it was kind of, I find myself rather collecting scientists throughout my life because they're so fascinating and can be such interesting people. And so thinking, I have collected a virologist now. And then it quickly turned into a relationship. We were like, you're a great human. We should get married and do this whole thing. But I never really wrote about him. I mean, and virology is hard to write for the stage because it frankly makes people nervous. There's a reason why there's allusions to plague in Shakespeare's plays, but he doesn't have one that's right forefront because people would be like, I don't want to hear about a plague. Not right now. Now we're sitting crammed in this theater with all these people. Let's not have that be the story because it's nerve-wracking. So when all this started going down, Nathan's certainly his spidey sense every morning as he was, reading the newspaper would start to go like, I'm starting to think this thing in Wuhan is a real thing. This is a real deal. Which certainly got me thinking about it earlier. And of course, the initial reaction is, loss of life and disruption of family and all the things that you think when an outbreak happens. But of course, I let my brain wander to my love of theater and knowing that this virus looked like it was hitting older folks harder than younger people. They're having to quarantine whole sections of cities, and it became very obvious to me that this was going to take a real hard toll on the theater, because that's what we do. We get together. So yeah, I did ask Nathan. I was like, I think I'm gonna tweet about this, because I feel like I need to talk to theater people about what this is. And of course, that turned into people being like, Lauren said. But it was interesting. It did make me think early about pivoting to an online medium, and how we can save shows, and how we can capture them, and frankly, the stuff we're just going to have to say pause to, or say goodbye to, because that is the brutal reality of this, is the getting together and the collectivity is the stuff that we can't do right now. And then I was frankly shocked that people were actually doing what they were told and staying home and not going out. I mean, I'm kind of impressed that we're managing this in the way that we are. But yeah, it hit me quite hard, the reality of what this would be. And then of course all the schools shutting and everything's shutting, and it just became very obvious. I was supposed to do a reading of that play, Natural Shocks, the day we sheltered in place. And, so pretty immediately, that's a one-person play, and I was going to read it anyway. So I just went to my basement and recorded myself doing it and released it as an audio play, with the kind of way to say, donate if you can to these causes and these organizations. And just felt like something that I could do and put out there. So I don't know, there's a space to kind of just go into the unknown and just go, I don't know, let's make a thing. I don't know, let's make a thing. Let's make a different thing. Let's try this thing, or make no things. And that's fine too. But for those of us who are feeling active and creative and iterative, then play. I mean, it's a time to play. There's no rules now. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. So we're going to have to keep coming up with options, and we're creative people. We're artists. We can always pivot and create anew. So it's the time to do it, I think.
Well, you've probably heard my rant. I talk about playwrights being the prophets of our time, having this more sensitive antenna, ordinary person, and being able to pull information out of the multitude of information and condense it into a story that can help us understand what to do or where we are. And I just wondered if there's anything your antenna is pulling down these days, aside from the obvious new forms, that we have to deal with. But what are we going to be talking about being human?
I think touch, a gesture, the gestural language of humanity is what to me feels most at a loss, or what I'm most grateful for the people that I'm sheltering in place with, my family. Getting that hug, getting that handhold, just spending a moment to say, I see you, I'm with you, I hear you. That's a thing that we can't do for a lot of people are sheltering in place alone. And so that's an element of theater that I've always been most moved by. Is actually not the monologues. I love to write a monologue, but it's not the quippy line. It's not the monologue. It's not the tete-a-tete back and forth. It's the silent gestural moments that always bring me to tears. Just if you can do it with a glance and a handhold or a hug, that's the best theater that I know that exists, because it is so pure. It is so human. And those are the things I think that, the technical part of theater that I miss, but also that's actually the whole story, is when do we get to a point where we do it in Bauer. The whole thing is these people who just have all these issues with each other. And by the end, they get that hug. She gets that hug. He gets that hug, and is able to say, thank you, and hold her and release. And so in some ways, that's kind of what we're all in the middle of the play right now. We're in the part of the play where things do not look good. Things are not going your way. And the catharsis and the climax are far away at the moment, but they'll come. So I think about that a lot. And I also think about family, and so much that these stories, the ageless stories, are ones of family. And whether that's the Greeks, as you mentioned, or Shakespeare, or Arthur Miller, or now, plays about the complexities of family. And we have that now. A lot of us do. We're, even by the visual mediums and digital mediums that we have, we're able to stay in touch with our family. So I'm kind of tapping into those realities. What is it to be a family? No, I'm getting some hard and fast practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. We'll since we've arrived at family, we will now let you go back to yours. I thought you told me you told me yesterday that there might be a little squealing in the background or an occasional
Good.
approaching child wanting mommy's lap, and thought that would have been great.
Yeah, they're done. I'm sure they're watching a screen of some sort at the moment.
Well, yeah, they're probably fascinated watching mommy on television. Right?
Indeed, they probably are. Hi, boys, go to bed.
Go to bed, dinner, etc.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you. And it's good to be able to look at the Bauer thing and just chat about the past and the present and the future. And
it's nice.
So grateful for all the time we've spent together working on plays. There'll be plenty more, huh?
More in the future. Take care. More. We'll see you on the other side of this. And thanks for all you do for New American Theater and Reimagined Theater. And you are a king in our community of great plays with great actors and great design. So thank you for everything.
You betcha.
Cheers. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. So that was fantastic. Oh, just wonderful. What a great mind and spirit, and how she gets all of that work into the drama. Just wanted to let you know that we're going to do this on a regular basis, and we have a couple more amazing playwrights coming up. Next Thursday, April 30th, we have Carrie Perloff at 7 o'clock. And, you know, Carrie and I worked together on a world premiere of her play called The Fit in our Sandbox series. And that's going to be wonderful to talk to Carrie about all the things we're talking to all these playwrights about. And then following that, Thursday, May 7th, we'll have Lauren Yee. You know, Lauren, we first worked with Lauren in our Sandbox on a play called In a Word. And then, of course, last season with the magnificent King of the Yees, Lauren's gone on to a great career nationally had a play, had Cambodian rock band was, I believe, shut down by the plague. So those will be coming up. But also wanted to let you know that we'd love it if you could contribute to this particularly difficult time. This screen you're seeing right now is called Our Heroes. And these in tiny, tiny little print are the hundreds of people who have stepped up to keep us alive through this time when we can't produce theater and can't seat audiences. And so we're hoping that some of you who can will continue contributing to that effort. It's really wonderful. Also, of course, we announced the season for next year, and we're hoping that those of you who have subscribed will renew. It's, you know, we had a season announcement party, and it was just an incredible gesture of faith that so many people attended it, and so many people made pledges. So many of our board members and our supporters made pledges to support the season. And we hope that you all will take the leap of faith with us to consider joining us up for the next season. So terrific having you. So glad that you all could join us for our second Fireside Chat at the Empathy Gym, San Francisco Playhouse. I'm Bill English, signing off. All of you, hope you have a wonderful evening. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.